Alright, so seriously, what was that main event?
There's gonna be a fight tonight!
What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check here with your NXT review for May the 18th. Before we go on, I'm going to do what I've done the past couple of days. I'm going to really encourage you, go over to the Q&A for April, drop your Q&A questions for May. I said it on my preview last night. If there aren't any questions in the Q&A for May, I may just roll it over into June. That's not anything against any of you guys, but clearly it's not getting a lot of feedback this month for whatever reason. Typically I'm bombarded with questions. This month I've gotten a grand total of 2. That's cool. You don't have anything to ask me. That's great. I'm not coming out here to shit on anybody. But if there aren't any in the next couple of days, I will roll this Q&A over into June. Hopefully we get some more participation there. I will say, go back one video, check out the preview for Extreme Rules this Sunday that Guapo and Kristen and I did on the Google Hangout. The Google Hangout is, again, getting a lot of really, really fun feedback and interaction from you guys. Those are definitely going to continue. Almost didn't happen because of some technical difficulties, but we got it out there. It was a lot of fun. We were all tired and we were all not very excited about the Extreme Rules thing, so if we seemed like we were a bit shit last night, I do apologize, but it was fun nonetheless. May 18th, NXT starts off with a hype package for Bayley versus Nia Jax, which is the main event tonight. I have such strong things to say about Nia Jax and whether she belongs in the company at all, never mind in the main event, but we'll get to that when we get to it. It starts off with a match that was hyped up last week, Blake and Murphy, with Alexa Bliss, obviously the newly dubbed Legacy Killer Alexa Bliss, out there with Blake and Murphy to fight Aries and a mystery opponent. And the mystery opponent ends up being Nakamura, which is fucking fantastic. Now, going into this, it's kind of interesting because I've heard the rumors that Nakamura and Aries are going to face each other at the next TakeOver, which is, I believe, on the 6th or the 16th, something like that. But to see them, obviously this is a YWC wet dream to have these guys in a match together as partners against Blake and Murphy, who nobody can really be paid to give a fuck about. Before the match starts, Corey Graves refers to the look on Alexa Bliss's face as resting Bliss face, which is amazing. We start the match. Aries and Murphy start the match with a running dropkick by Aries. Murphy eats Nakamura's boot in the corner thanks to Aries, and a mud hole by Nakamura leads to a double knee stomp. Nakamura slingshots Murphy into Aries' forearm and then basically lays Murphy. It's hard to describe unless you were watching it, but Nakamura lays Murphy across his own knees so that Aries can hit a slingshot corkscrew from the apron. Also very, very cool. Clothesline by Murphy in a mud hole. Aries eats turnbuckle hard. Murphy rides a headlock jawjacker by Aries. Headlock into a jawjacker has got to be one of the most cliched what do you want to call it? Counter moves there is. I do like the back. Speaking of cliches, I do like the backpack sleeper into the backpack stunner. That works because it just does. A headlock into a jawjacker is so overplayed. I really wish they could do something else. And with guys like Aries and Nakamura, I expect something else. That's why I'm shitting on it. Crazy chops and kicks by Nakamura. A running knee lift and an inverted exploder by Nakamura. Nakamura goes and lingers in his own corner a lot, teasing the hot tag to Austin Aries, but in the end leaves his partner on the apron, hits the Kinshasa, and gets the win for the team. Now, if this is going to, the commentators throughout this match were really, really hitting over the head the fact that Aries debuted and then Nakamura debuted. Nakamura got a lot more fanfare. Aries has kind of sort of been there, and it's cool, and it's Austin Aries, and he's great, but he's sort of existed in the background of a bigger, better pushed new guy. If they want to use that as the jumping point for this feud going into TakeOver, I can buy that. Nakamura being the showman that he is, teasing the tag to Aries and then getting the win himself instead. Cool. Also, Blake and Murphy argue on the outside. Friggin' dirty ass looks from fucking amazingly hot Alexa Bliss as she walks away from both of them, which is great. We have Bayley in the back, and she's talking about her match tonight with Nia Jax. Talks about the takeover where they fought before and she choked her out. It's a very, very John Cena promo. I get it. Bayley's awesome. Bayley is universally loved by everybody. If you don't love Bayley, you're breaking the law. I get it. But this is the whole... Nia Jax needs to understand that she's a bully, and bullies don't always get their way, and she thinks she's tough, but I'm tough too. And it's just... But the converse to that is we have a video package for Asuka. Starting with her title win over Bayley, the whole thing is set to Mayhem by Hailstorm, which is... You guys know that that's going to hit me right here. You hear Mayhem on this channel. I was messaged by Guapo and Kristen when this was announced for that particular pay-per-view. Hey, they're using your Hailstorm song for a pay-per-view. It's all fucking good. And the fact that it's actually interspersed with the Mayhem music video makes it even better. No Way Jose cuts an interview in the back that achieves nothing. And Carmella talks about Enzo's injury, Cass's, powerful push on the main roster, and the fact that she's still got her eyes dead set on winning the NXT Championship. She's still not the best on the mic, but she's getting better. And, I mean, she spoke after No Way Jose spoke, so she's going to seem a bit better, isn't she? Carmella versus Peyton Royce next. Peyton Royce apparently is now referring to herself as the Venus Flytrap of NXT. She has a flower in her hand. She's basically dressed like Poison Ivy from Batman, which is really lame. Collar and elbow tie up and a mudhole stomp by Peyton and a choke in the corner. Peyton rides a headlock and a pinning reversal sequence follows. A boot by Peyton and the Eddie Guerrero style Three Amigos, but the third Amigo is with a bridge, and that was really nice. Both of them trade punches and a Thez press by Carmella. Twice. Head scissor and a super kick by Carmella and a Bronco Buster face plant and that weird sort of figure four chokehold thing that she does gets her the obvious win. The match was okay. The Three Amigos with a bridge by Peyton Royce was really nice. Get her a better gimmick. You can't do this whole... like, she's Poison Ivy, except nobody's saying it. It's as bad as Sting being the Joker. It's as bad as Glacier in WCW being a ripoff of Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. It's just bad. You can't have this tongue-in-cheek, we're making our own version of such and such just because such and such. And I mean, she's good enough in the ring. She's in there with Carmella, who's not the best, but she's got a following, and she's one of those ones that NXT is going to push whether we really like it or not. We show footage from a house show where Joe and Balor had a big pull-apart brawl. The whole roster came out to separate them, and Balor finishes it off with a ridiculous suicide dive over the top. We then go to Regal's press conference that took place on Facebook, for reasons, where he announces that Joe versus Balor at the next takeover is going to be NXT's very first steel cage match. Very, very cool, and I think it's very interesting. I mean, these guys have already had 2 matches at 2 takeovers. That's fine. That's happening on the main show. But since Joe won the title, this story is mostly taking place on house shows and social media. The NXT Championship match isn't really being built on the NXT show, and I'm not saying that that's a super great thing, but it's very interesting. It makes this storyline stick out above any other title story that's going on right now, because they've never really done something like this right now. You wouldn't see AJ Styles beating Roman Reigns at a house show for the championship, and their next contract signing takes place on Twitter, and we leave Raw completely to other things. You wouldn't have that. I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing, but it really makes this feud stick out, and especially if you want to go with the mentality that I've been saying the past couple of weeks, if you really want to push for people to, get out to more house shows, you never know what's going to happen at a house show. This is definitely going to get it done. Alexa Bliss in the back with Blake and Murphy dumps Blake and Murphy. She's no longer associated with them. It's time to be all about me. I really... with people like Nia Jax and Carmella getting a really big spotlight on NXT, I really hope that this opens the door to the NXT Women's Championship for Alexa Bliss, because she fucking deserves it. I'm just saying, it's one of those things, even when Becky Lynch, or so not Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks and Charlotte when she was a heel were on NXT. They were great heels, and people enjoyed what they did, but they were still loved by the crowd. Alexa Bliss is actually hated by the crowd, and it's not hated like Nia Jax, like I don't want to see you because you fucking suck. You're Roman Reigns with tits. It's because you're being a good heel. And it just needs to, and she's just started, like I say, this legacy killer gimmick, and we could take that right onto Raw. She could take the title off Charlotte, and that would make sense. But we don't do things that make sense. Gargano and Ciampa face two jobbers, and normally when I say that, I would just glaze over this match. But despite the fact that they're facing two jobbers, despite the fact that this is a prolonged squash match, it's an entertaining prolonged squash match, if that makes sense. Armbar and a takedown and another armbar by Gargano on one of the jobbers and a shoulder block. 3 arm drags and an armbar by Gargano. Kitchen sink by one of the jobbers who tags in the other jobber. 3 arm drags for him and another armbar by Gargano. We're working the arms. It's cool. Each tag team partner's taking over where the other one left off, which is also cool. A long double team sequence by Gargano and Ciampa of a lot of tandem moves that I couldn't describe to you if I tried. But we can tell they're a good tag team. Corner chops by Ciampa and a vertical suplex boot by Ciampa and a clothesline by the jobber. Chops by Ciampa and boots by both jobbers. Rolling clotheslines for both jobbers by Gargano. Slingshot spear by Gargano. A double boot by Gargano and Ciampa. A double super kick by Gargano and Ciampa. Get the win for Gargano and Ciampa. Now, like I say, in the entire thing, you get a double boot and a clothesline from the jobbers on the other side of the ring. Somehow this still managed to be entertaining. I like Gargano and Ciampa. I like the dynamic that they have where Ciampa kind of comes across as a bit of an asshole and Gargano is this lovable guy that everybody loves that gets the Johnny Wrestling chants and all that sort of thing. But they still work incredibly well and incredibly fluid as a tag team, and it's fucking wonderful. Regal is in the back. He congratulates Enzo and Cass as well as the Vaudevillains on their success on Raw. Which is funny because Enzo's not having success on Raw. He's having concussion recovery. Cass is getting a weird little singles push, and the Vaudevillains still have a lot to prove to me. But he says, moving on to the NXT tag team scenario, we are going to get the American Alpha versus the Revival at the next TakeOver, which is fantastic. So now we've got a title match in a cage. Now we've got a tag team title match. I think we're getting Bayley versus Asuka. And we're building towards Aries versus Nakamura. This is already a better show than Extreme Rules this Sunday. I know. I hated listening to all of those guys, Deluxe Man and Preston specifically, where they would say, oh, you know, NXT's show is going to be better than WWE's show, and we haven't even seen it yet. We just know. In this case, it's kind of true. In this case, I will fully, you know, let all my guard down. Put down all the defenses, and I will say already, I know that TakeOver, I think it's being called TakeOver Revenge, because it's not in another city. We've had a lot of TakeOver London, TakeOver Dallas, TakeOver Boston, I think was the other one. Were just named after the cities they were in, but because this one's back in Full Sail, and it is going to have that Impact Zone feeling a little bit, I think they're calling it TakeOver Revenge. I'm not entirely sure. But it's already looking like a good card, and I mean, Alexa Bliss could do something. Blake and Murphy could do something. You never know what else they're going to add to the show, but those 4 matches alone are worth the price of admission. And when the price of admission is $11.99, you're going to have a good time. What's not a good time? Oh my God. Can't believe I have to talk about this. I can't believe I have to talk about this. Gargano and Ciampa are great, but they faced jobbers tonight. Gargano and Ciampa versus jobbers was better than the main event tonight. The main event is Bayley versus Nia Jax. Now, I understand that Bayley is universally loved in NXT, and she's good. I have my concerns personally about her gimmick and what will happen to her gimmick when she comes to the main roster, but I know that Bayley's fantastic. I know that she has the connectivity with the crowd, all that sort of thing. She's fantastic. Her matches with Sasha Banks, you can't touch them. But you've got her in here with Nia Jax. And it's kind of like, if you can imagine, what's a good thing? What could I compare this to? If you could imagine the internet darling Daniel Bryan in his prime trying to pull a good match out of the Great Khali, That's what this match, that's what this pairing looks like. Because I'm sorry, Bayley tries so hard in this match because she ragdolls. She gets the Dolph Ziggler treatment in this match. Anytime you've ever seen Dolph Ziggler versus the Big Show, Dolph Ziggler doing his damnedest to make the Big Show look great, even though the Big Show's just the Big Show. That's what this is, and it's terrible. And she gets run over like a friggin' proverbial steamroller. I'm gonna get into it, and it's just sad. So I'm not gonna have any excitement in it whatsoever. So bear with me. Faceplant by Jax to start the match and a knockdown. Bayley works the arm and a backpack sleeper. Slam by Jax. Side headlock by Bayley. Faceplant again by Jax and a corner spear. Another slam by Jax. Choke in the ropes and a corner spear. Clothesline off the corner by Jax. Knee lift by Bayley, and Bayley eats turnbuckle as we go to the mini version of an NXT commercial break. Jax rides a standing crossface, which is just shit. Shoulder breaker, knee drop to the arm by Jax, and then she stands on the hand because that's hard. That's right out, okay. All due respect to Andre the Giant, that's right out of the Andre the Giant handbook. Headbutts by Jax and a Cobra Clutch and a clothesline. Another Cobra Clutch by Jax. Turns it into a bear hug with the arm trapped, which, yes, I will say, I love psychology. She's working the arm, that's great, but everything is at such a slow, trudging through the molasses in January pace. It is just painful. Corner tackle by Bayley and a drop kick tosses off Jax. Jax is on the outside in the rampway, and I know there's not a lot of room there. I get it. But Bayley goes for the head scissor off the top rope to the outside, and it is just the ugliest super shit clusterfuck. They basically both fall down in the ugliest way possible. That's what happens there. Top rope crossbody by Bayley, one arm spinebuster by Nia Jax, which I will admit does kind of look impressive. Jax eats post shoulder first. He eats a DDT by Bayley. Corner splash by Jax, and a couple of leg drops gets the win. And my eyes are bleeding at this point. This show started off really well with the Aries Nakamura tag team match. Even the tag team match with the Jobbers was good. The not main event Divas match women's match in the middle of this show was good. This main event, guys, was shit, and it weighs down the whole card. And the problem is with this, you want to hype up your main event from the beginning of the show. I get that. If you've got at the end of the show, you're getting Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe, for an example. You want to hype up from the minute you go on air that we are getting Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe at the end of the night. Keeps everybody's attention, keeps everybody interested. Reverse effect tonight. Because the very first thing we saw, I said it at the beginning of this review, was a package leading into the main event tonight with Nia Jax. So I spent this entire show knowing that I'm going to see Nia Jax in the main event. Cheers for that. Everything else on this show was at least decent, if not better. We're building towards a takeover that I think is going to be fucking phenomenal. Lots and lots and lots of awesome shit happening in NXT, but guys, this main event was crap. It really, really was. I hate to say that because NXT is sort of where it's at. NXT is where we're filtering in all the TNA guys, and that's just a thing. I'm going to try and walk out of this show tonight with the main event not ruining the rest of the show, but it's fucking hard, and it was long, and it was slow, and Nia Jax just needs to not be on my TV anymore. Anyways, that's all I've got to say about this week's NXT. I won't be doing a SmackDown review because basically the same reason as last week. Excuse me. So the next time you will hear from me is sometime after Extreme Rules. I'm going to say it one last time, and it's the last time I'm going to ask. If you've been holding back, if you've been shy, if you, for whatever reason, just haven't had a chance to do it yet, go back to the April Ask the Phoenix. Add your questions for this month. I don't care if you've never asked me a question before. In fact, if you've never asked me a question before in my Q&A, this is the Q&A where I want to see new faces. I want to see new names. I don't care if you ask me 1 or 10. 10's the limit. We know. We established that a couple months ago. But even if you've got 1, even if it's not about wrestling. Throw me something in the Q&A. I really want that to be like the one continuous series on this channel. You guys never disappoint me. A lot of you guys get me a lot of questions right at the buzzer, which is great. I really hope I get to do it. I really hope you enjoyed this NXT, even though the main event was shit. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.